Long before the stories of Prince Adali and Amara were told across the land, there existed a powerful kingdom known as Ijoba. It was a kingdom blessed with fertile fields, beautiful rivers, skilled craftsmen, and warriors whose bravery was respected by neighboring lands. Every morning, the sound of talking drums announced a new day. The palace gates opened as servants moved through the royal compound, preparing for the king's council meeting. The people admired their kingdom. But behind the beauty of Ijoba was a hidden struggle. The wealthy lived comfortably inside the city walls, while many villagers worked endlessly just to provide food for their families. From the highest balcony of the royal palace, a young prince watched everything below. His name was Adewale, the only son of King Adetikan. Everyone believed he was fortunate because one day he would wear the crown. But inside his heart, Adewale carried a question nobody could answer. How could he lead people whose lives he had never truly understood? Prince Adewale had grown up surrounded by privilege. Servants prepared his clothes. Warriors protected him wherever he went. Teachers trained him in history, warfare, leadership, and diplomacy. But despite all his education, something troubled him. The lessons taught inside the palace were about numbers and strategies. They spoke about taxes collected. They spoke about armies prepared. They spoke about alliances with other kingdoms. But nobody spoke about the farmer who lost his crops. Nobody spoke about the mother who could not afford medicine. Nobody spoke about the child who went hungry at night. During the morning council, Adewale listened carefully as the chiefs discussed the kingdom's affairs. Chief Baligan, the king's most trusted advisor, presented a report. The kingdom is stable, he announced. Adewale looked around the room. Everyone agreed. But he wondered if stability looked the same to those sitting in comfort and those struggling outside. After the council meeting ended, King Adetikan called his son privately. The old king was respected throughout Ijoba. He had ruled for many years and understood the difficulties of leadership. Adewale, the king said gently, a future ruler must learn patience. The prince bowed. I understand, father. The king looked outside the palace window. A kingdom cannot be ruled only by emotions. Sometimes a leader must make difficult choices. Adewale remained silent. He respected his father. But he also believed something was missing. Father, how can a ruler make good choices if he does not understand the people affected by those choices? The king studied his son. You have a good heart, Adewale. But the world outside these walls is not as simple as you think. Those words stayed with him. Because deep inside, the prince wanted to discover that world himself. Far away from the palace, beyond the crowded roads and royal buildings, was a small village called Oden. Unlike the palace, where everything appeared organized and perfect, life in Oden was a daily struggle. The villagers woke before sunrise. Farmers prepared their tools. Women walked long distances to collect water. Traders arranged their goods in small market stalls. Among them was a young woman named Amara. She lived in a small family compound with her younger brother, Toby. After losing their parents, Amara became responsible for protecting their home. She made beautiful handmade crafts and sold them in the village market. She was poor. But she carried herself with dignity. The villagers knew her as a woman who never allowed hardship to destroy her kindness. The village market was always full of life. Traders shouted their prices. Children moved between stalls. The smell of fresh food filled the air. Amara sat beside her small wooden table displaying her handmade bowls, woven baskets, and decorative crafts. She was not the richest trader in the market. But people trusted her. An elderly woman approached her stall. Amara, your work is beautiful. Amara smiled. Thank you, Mama. The woman touched one of the clay bowls. Your father taught you well. The mention of her father made Amara quiet for a moment. She missed him. He had always told her something important. Your value is not measured by what you own, but by what you give. Those words guided her every day. That same day, the palace prepared for a grand celebration. The chiefs wanted to honor Prince Adewale before his future coronation. Musicians played royal songs. Dancers performed in the courtyard. Guests arrived wearing expensive traditional clothing. Everyone celebrated the future king. But Adewale stood quietly watching. The celebration was beautiful. Yet something felt incomplete. While people danced for him, he wondered how many people outside the palace were struggling silently. His friend and personal guard, Kola, noticed his expression. "You do not look like someone attending his own celebration." Adewale smiled. "Perhaps because I am wondering who is not here." Kola looked confused. "The kingdom is here." Adewale shook his head. "No. Only part of it." That evening, Adewale walked through the palace gardens. He found Chief Baligan speaking quietly with several wealthy merchants. The prince stopped when he heard his name mentioned. "The prince is becoming too curious," one merchant said. Chief Baligan replied calmly. "A young man with questions can become dangerous if he learns too much." Adewale stepped back silently. He had always believed Chief Baligan served the kingdom faithfully. But those words planted doubt in his mind. Why would a royal advisor fear a prince who wanted to understand his people? That night, Adewale made a decision. He would leave the palace. Not as a prince. Not as the future king. But as an ordinary man. Before sunrise, Adewale entered his private room. He removed his royal clothing. The expensive fabrics. The royal necklace. The symbols that separated him from ordinary people. He replaced them with simple clothing belonging to a traveler. Only his trusted guard Kola knew. "Your Highness, this is dangerous." Adewale looked at him. "Then why does the truth always feel dangerous?" Kola had no answer. The prince placed a small royal ring inside his clothing. It was the only reminder of who he truly was. "I need to see the kingdom with my own eyes." Kola sighed. "Promise me you will return safely." Adewale nodded. "I promise." But neither of them knew that this journey would change the future of Ijoba forever. Before the first rooster announced the morning, Prince Adewale walked through the hidden passage of the royal palace. The same walls that had protected him since childhood now felt like barriers keeping him away from the truth. He moved quietly through the ancient corridor where generations of kings had walked before him. Every painting on the wall showed a powerful ruler sitting on a throne. But Adewale wondered if those kings had truly known the people they ruled. When he finally stepped outside the palace gate, he stopped for a moment. For the first time in his life, nobody announced his arrival. No drums. No greetings. No warriors bowing. He was just another traveler walking into the world. And somehow, that felt like freedom. The roads outside the palace were different from what Adewale expected. There were no decorated paths. No royal escorts. No people preparing his way. The prince walked beside farmers carrying tools, traders moving goods and travelers searching for new opportunities. For the first time, he experienced the rhythm of ordinary life. A farmer greeted him. A child laughed as he passed. A woman selling fruits offered him water. Nobody knew his identity. Nobody cared about his family name. They judged him only by how he treated them. Adewale realized something important. Inside the palace, his title opened doors. Outside the palace, his character would decide whether people accepted him. As Adewale continued his journey, he noticed a young boy sitting beside the roadside. The child looked weak. His clothes were old, and his face showed exhaustion. Adewale stopped. "Are you all right?" The boy looked up. "My mother has no money for food." Those words stayed with him. Adewale reached into his bag and gave the child some coins. The boy smiled. "Thank you, sir." Adewale watched him run home. It was only a small act. But for that child, it meant everything. The prince had heard stories about poverty before. But stories could never prepare him for seeing suffering with his own eyes. By afternoon, Adewale reached Oden village. It was smaller than the capital. There were no huge buildings. No royal guards. No wealthy merchants. But there was something he immediately noticed. People knew each other. Neighbors helped neighbors. Children played freely. Elders sat together sharing stories. The village had struggles, but it also had a strong sense of community. Adewale entered the market square quietly. He watched women selling food, men repairing tools, young people carrying goods. And then he saw her. A young woman arranging handmade pottery beside a wooden stall. Her name was Amara. Adewale did not know why he stopped. Perhaps it was because Amara looked different from everyone he had met. Not because she wore expensive clothes. She did not. Not because she had wealth. She did not. It was because of the confidence in her eyes. She treated every customer with respect. She listened carefully. She smiled even when people offered little money for her work. A wealthy trader approached her store. "You should reduce your price." Amara calmly replied. "My work carries the value of the effort behind it." Adewale watched quietly. She was not afraid. She spoke with courage. And for the first time in a long while, the prince was impressed by someone who had nothing to gain from impressing him. The wealthy merchant picked up one of Amara's clay bowls. "This is just ordinary clay." The people around the market became silent. Amara looked at him. "Everything begins as something ordinary." The merchant laughed. "You think a poor village girl understands value?" Adewale noticed the anger in the crowd. But Amara remained calm. "My father taught me that a person's worth is not determined by their possessions." Her words surprised everyone. Even Adewale. The merchant walked away, but the prince remembered her statement. In the palace, people often measured worth by family name. Amara measured worth by character. After the merchant left, Adewale approached the pottery store. "Your work is beautiful." Amara smiled politely. "Thank you." He picked up a small clay bowl. "Who taught you this?" "My father." A moment of sadness crossed her face. "He passed away years ago." Adewale lowered the bowl. "I am sorry." Amara nodded. "Life takes many things from us. We only decide what we do with what remains." Those words touched him. Because although she had lost much, she carried no bitterness. Their conversation was interrupted by loud voices. Several palace officials entered the market. They were collecting money from traders. But something seemed wrong. The traders looked afraid. An elderly woman selling vegetables struggled to pay. "Please, I already paid this week." The official grabbed her basket. Adewale watched. He recognized the symbol on their clothing. They claimed to represent the palace. But he had never heard of this collection. Before he could move, Amara stepped forward. "Return her goods." The official looked at her. "Do you know who you are speaking to?" Amara answered calmly. "Someone who is taking food from an old woman." Adewale watched with surprise. The officials eventually left the market. But danger followed Adewale. As evening approached, he walked through a quiet path outside the village. He did not notice the men following him. 3 armed strangers stepped from behind the trees. "Give us what you have." Adewale looked around. He knew immediately. These were not ordinary thieves. They moved like trained fighters. One of them noticed the small ring hidden beneath his clothing. His expression changed. "Where did you get that?" Adewale reached for his weapon. But he was surrounded. Just when the attackers moved closer, a loud crash came from behind them. A wooden cart filled with pottery rolled into the path. Clay pots shattered across the ground. Everyone turned. It was Amara. She had followed because she suspected something was wrong. Without hesitation, she shouted, "Run!" The attackers were distracted. Adewale grabbed the opportunity. Together, they escaped through the narrow village paths. For a moment, neither of them spoke. They had just survived danger together. And neither understood why fate had brought them into each other's lives. Amara brought Adewale to her family compound. It was small. Simple. but welcoming. Her younger brother Toby looked at the stranger with curiosity. "Who is he?" Amara answered. "Someone who needed help." Adewale introduced himself. "My name is Ode." He stopped. He almost revealed everything. Instead, he smiled. "My name is Ayo." Another lie. But this time, the lie felt heavier. Because he knew he was hiding the truth from people who had shown him kindness. While Adewale rested in the village, panic spread inside the royal palace. The prince was missing. King Adetikan demanded answers. The palace guards searched every road leading from the kingdom. But Chief Baligan remained unusually calm. He already knew Adewale had left. And instead of searching only for the prince's safety, he worried about something else. What would happen if the prince discovered the truth hidden among the people? Far away in Odon village, Adewale looked at the simple home where he was staying. He did not know it yet. But his journey had already begun changing him. And the poor village girl who saved his life would soon become the greatest challenge to everything he believed about power, wealth and love. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this episode, please give it a like, leave a comment, and share it with someone who may enjoy it too. Do not forget to follow or subscribe for more. See you in the next episode.